I talk, you listen, or you turn the channel. Either way, I'm still going to talk. Welcome to Unfiltered. I got to tell you, Wednesday, New York Post had such a great headline for these days. The headline was, "Not so fast, you greedy bastards." And the best I've ever seen. Although I did think of one that would be just a little bit better, and that would be, "Not so." That would be my headline. Anyway, says the feds plan 100% tax on the AIG bonuses. Well, they didn't do that good. They did, however, on Thursday. The House passed a bill. Find the right card. They will tax AIG and other corporations and firms that received more than $5 billion in bailout funds at a rate of 90%. That's tough, yeah. But it's a good damn thing. Because, I mean, that's the good news today. I found some numbers about AIG that are frankly kind of horrible. The top bonus recipient in AIG got $6.4 million. That's a yearly bonus. The top 7 got more than $4 million each. 22 people in the company got $2 million or more. 73 people in the company got $1 million or more. And this is what killed me. A lot of these were supposedly retention bonuses. 11 people in the company who received more than $1 million left. As soon as they got their bonuses, they were gone. One guy took his $4.6 million bonus and flew the coop. Yeah. Costs a lot of money to keep good people. Frankly, if a company gave me a $4 million bonus, I'd never work another day in my life. I would say, thanks for the retirement fund. Other than, and you know, I believe it's the New York State Attorney wants all these companies that handed out these huge bonuses to release the names of the people that got them. And these companies are trying to refuse, and they're hiring lawyers to try and get out of releasing these names, and they've stated that some of these people that got this money have already received death threats. Then why not? I mean, this is what you get for being on a level of greed so bad. You know, chill out. You don't need that much money. Nobody needs that much money.
Unless you're going out and creating foundations or donating to charities or something like that, what the heck can you possibly need all that money for?
The problem is none of these people are donating to charity. The only reason they donate to charities is to get the tax breaks. And now that I've rolled into taxes, let me get to another damn point that came out this week. 13 companies that took bailout money owed back taxes. to the tune of $220 million.
Yet they were still given the check for the bailout.
Yet they were still given the check for the bailout. And I also understand that in the very first language of the bailout bill, there was language that prevented these bonuses. But Congress and the White House fought to change the language of the bill so that it wouldn't affect these fat cats. And before the Treasury gave out the money, they didn't ask these companies, well, let's check your tax records to make sure you're on up and up. No. Now they give them $750 billion. These companies should have to pay the tax on that money because they got it. But they don't.
You even got to claim, gift money if it goes over a certain amount.
You're supposed to claim gift money, yeah.
So, and I think they're a little over the limit of what you can get away with not claiming. So.
And I've got a specific. I didn't just come empty-handed with one blue card in my hand. Get off there. I'm done with you. I've also got an article. Came out of Thursday's Sentinel. This is the kind of people that caused this. This is in Hartford, Connecticut. 36-year-old Swedish countess is getting a divorce from a former CEO. Her CEO is, let's see if it says his name somewhere. George David. He's a former investment banker. And her name is Marie Douglas David. Says she has no income and needs her 67-year-old husband to pay her more than $53,000 per week. That's right, $53,000 per week. That's more than most American households make in a year. She's telling the courts that this is not enough for her to survive on. Apparently, he stepped down last year as the CEO of United Technologies Corporation in Hartford, and he's still the chairman of the board. He's estimated a net worth of $329 million. She's filed court papers showing that she has more than $53,800 in weekly expenses. She's actually filed papers showing that she has this much.
Trying to justify it?
Yeah. Listen to this. Here's her weekly expenses for maintaining a Park Avenue apartment and 3 residences in Sweden. Her weekly expenses also include $700 for limousine service, $4,500 for clothing per week. I will not wear $4,500 worth of clothes in my entire life. Guaranteed. She gets that much a week. What does she do? Just take off her clothes and throw them away? Unbelievable. $1,000 for hair and skin treatments. For $1,000 a week. Jesus, my hair would be beautiful. My skin would be that of a newborn baby. Actually, if I had $1,000 a week to spend on skin, I would probably have a suit made out of newborn baby butt skin. Because it's soft and it smells good. What else does she have? Oh, $1,500 a week for restaurants and entertainment. And $8,000 for travel per week. Like $700 for limousine service isn't enough. She's got to have $8,000 just in case she wants to jet to Paris and back for brunch.
Well, she's got 3 residences in Sweden, plus the one on Park Avenue. She's got to have lunch in Sweden and come back for dinner in New York, and then
Yeah. Apparently, in a post-nuptial agreement in 2005, it was agreed that if there was a divorce, he would give her $43 million. But now she's saying at the rate of her bills, she'll burn through that money in 16 years and then be penniless.
that gives her time to find another sugar daddy.
Gives her time, yeah, the time to find another Bernie Madoff or something, you know. But meanwhile, while people try and cut back on their spending in this economic times, a lot of people turn like to the olden days. You know, more people are growing gardens. More people are hunting and getting their food from hunting. And kids, a lot of times when you make sacrifices and change things up in the household, you don't really want to tell the kids. You know, nobody wants to tell the kids, look, for the past 5 years, we've been making Carnation instant milk and putting it in the milk jug. You know? Nobody wants to say that. This family found the same deal. The man went out and got a deer during hunting season. But they didn't want to tell their kids they were eating Bambi. You know? They decided instead they'd just give them a clue and let the kids guess. So the kids asked mom and dad for a clue as to what they were eating, and dad said, well, it's what mommy sometimes calls me. And one of the little kids looks at the other and says, don't eat it, it's asshole. Yeah, that's good. Just before crew call, I was reading USA Today and I saw a complete full-page ad here for something called 60 Earth Hour. And I guess the deal is to have everybody in the United States, or everybody apparently on Earth, switch off their lights on March 28th. It's a Saturday. They want you to turn your lights off from 8:30 to 9:30 p.m. Turn all your electric lights off, and apparently you'll save the planet. So it says your light switch is your vote. Switch off your lights for Earth Hour, Saturday, March 28th. Sponsored by World Wildlife Foundation, Wells Fargo, a bunch of other people. And you can find out more about it by going to www.earthhourus.org. Let me do this one, because we'll go into crew call on a happy note. A doctor in Greenfield, Illinois, a small town, named Gary Turpin. He's an older gentleman. He, in 1968 to 1970, he led a MASH-style unit over in Vietnam, and then came home and went into private practice as a doctor. Been in practice for 45 years. And amid all this recession, depression talk, has decided that being in business for 45 years has afforded him the luxury of providing free medical care to his patients that have lost their jobs or their insurance for the period of 1 year. So for the rest of this year, all his patients that need free medical care will receive free medical care. And he said the idea came to him after he saw a speech by Obama to volunteer more, to give more, that we are in need of not so much. Personally, I don't think we're in the need so much for government bailouts as we are for just people to open their hearts and, you know, give a little bit more to charity. I mean, especially, look, this Swedish countess, you know, give up your travel expenses for a week and stay home and donate that $8,000 to maybe somebody who doesn't have a $4,500 wardrobe allowance for a week. You know? Maybe instead of spending $4,500 on clothes, you could, like, give $4,500 to a shelter or to a food kitchen. All these executives, and I did hear that some of the executives are offering to give their bonuses back, which, I mean, only makes sense. Because, granted, it's not their fault that their bosses were complete retards. But anyway, yeah, that's enough on that. Anyway, he's doing a great thing. Hopefully more people will step up. I mean, that's the only thing that's going to help healthcare go down, is that. I'm going to talk a little bit more about healthcare after crew call, but tonight, where do I start? I guess over here. Camera, everyone. It's Greg. What can I say? And in the booth is Bruce.
How's it going out there, Rick?
It's going good. That's a good-looking shot, Bruce.
Yeah, it does look good. Threw a couple of lights back there.
Kind of brightens it up.
Dresses me up nicely.
Yeah.
So, Andrea's pretty wore out and whooped this week. Just feeling tired, stressed. Had a lot going on, so she just decided to take the evening off and kick back at the house. So I'm going to just give you a quick heads up that there was no race last week, so nothing to report. No significant news to speak of. We do have, however, the 5th race of the year, which will be the final one that's going to be run under last year's points as far as being locked in the races. And then starting next week, I believe it's Martinsville, they're going to be racing next week after Bristol, will be the first race that they're going to go under this year's current points. But so far, right now, they're still going to go from last year's points. They have the nationwide race is going to be run at 2 p.m. on Saturday on ABC. The reason I mention that is because immediately following that at 6 p.m. on ESPN2, they're going to have a Saturday night special race, which is going to feature several what they're calling legendary drivers. It's retired drivers, guys that no longer race actively, but they're going to be paired up with some celebrities. And I'll just whoop through a few of them. Basically, it's going to be a 50-lap event. First 15 laps are going to be run as a kind of a qualifier, just a heat race to figure out how they're going to line up inside-outside rows. And then they're going to do a 35-lap run. It looks like about 15 guys are going to be racing. Names like Harry Gant, Cale Yarborough, Phil Parsons, Junior Johnson, Rusty Wallace, Larry Pearson, Terry Labonte, Sterling Mullen, and Jimmy Spencer. These guys are all going to go out and actually be the drivers, but they're going to have some celebrity co-drivers, other guys in the car with them. Some names, and pardon me, I got to take these down so I can read it. The Philadelphia Eagles place kicker, David Akers, is going to be with Harry Gant. Virginia Tech head coach for football coach Frank Beamer, pardon me. An Alabama head football coach Terry Bowden. Funny car driver Ron Capps. ESPN analyst and former NBA player Brad Dougherty is going to be driving with Junior Johnson. Ray Evernham, former crew chief. And that crazy guy Ricky Rackman, that's always on the NASCAR shows in the morning before the race, and he's also a radio personality. I hear him quite often on 101.9. They play his radio spot, but he's going to be driving with Jimmy Spencer. So that ought to be interesting to watch. I'm looking forward to that. And again, that's 6 p.m. on Saturday night on ESPN2. And then Sprint Cup race at Bristol is going to be 1:30 on Sunday on Fox. So always a good race, always a lot of beating and banging, tempers flaring, a lot of carnage. So we always look forward to Bristol. That's the one race that I want to go see before I die, is go see a Bristol race live. So Well, with that, buddy, we're going to hand it back to you, and we will catch up to you a little later.
All right. I'm not done reading yet, though. All right. I'll be done now. There. I hate it when you interrupt me like that. I don't know what I want to do first. Let's do this one. I made an announcement last week that some of the rock bands were starting to, feel the pinch of the economy, or maybe I should say feel pity on us poor fans that can't afford to go to shows anymore, that they've started dropping ticket prices. Well, a bunch more have jumped on the bandwagon, and it's a great thing. Keith Urban kicks off his Escape Together tour on May 7th and 8th in Uncasaville, Connecticut. He'll be selling select tickets for $20 each with no transaction rate.
Cool.
Yeah. Taylor Swift will be starting her Fearless tour in April with tickets as low as $20. Very good thing. No Doubt starts its tour in May in Las Vegas. $10 and $25 tickets are available. Very neat. I never thought I'd see another $10 concert. Here's a big one. U2, which is doing their worldwide tour right now. They're scheduled to hit the United States on September 12th in Chicago, and they will offer 10,000 seats per stop in the United States at $30 a piece. That's great. So, there is people trying to help in the hard times. I don't know. Obama on Thursday was in California touring a plant that researches hybrid and electric vehicles. Now, I watched his little speech, and he was talking about investing hugely in this electric car, hybrid car concepts. And I mean to the tune of, I heard him mention $7,500 tax incentives to buy electric cars and charge them. He mentioned, I think it was $100 million to jumpstart the infrastructure, upgrading the infrastructure, so that he said eventually there will be rest areas where you can do more than just pull in and get a cup of coffee. You'll be able to charge your car there, get hydrogen and biofuels, and swap batteries as fast, quick. Like pop your old battery out, just like you do with your propane tanks in the summertime. You pull in, your battery's getting low on your electric car, you pull in, you pop your battery out, you trade it for a charged one. It's that simple. But he's talking big, huge incentives to get us off foreign oil. And like I said, last year, or was it 2 years ago, I talked about GM and their EV1, completely electric car that vanished off the face of the earth. Well, it didn't vanish. We know where it went. It was crushed by GM due to government and oil companies and big business. And chances are these are the same people that are raping all the money out of our wallets right now. I never wanted to wear a tie because I never wanted to be part of that corporate America. But now...
They do make some really cool ties, though.
Yeah, but now if you wear a tie, I'm at the point where I want to punch every damn guy that gets up in the morning and puts a suit and tie on in the face because they remind me of bankers. Anybody that's in business, in that corporate environment, I just want to see off the face of the earth. Because granted, one bad apple, but when
Now
you
you're
start
stereotyping, man.
you start lining up these bad apples,
I got a Garcia tie.
And-
It'll make you happy.
a what?
I got a Garcia tie.
Oh, a Jerry Garcia tie. I might wear that, maybe. No, probably not. Because it's something about doing that thing up around your neck where it cuts off the blood flow to your brain, and all you see is numbers and dollar signs, and you don't see human anymore.
They're not meant to wear like that. You gotta leave them loose.
If I would tie mine around my head or wear it as a belt or something,
I got a SpongeBob one.
because I'm sure that, what was the other story I saw that I thought was just a riot? PETA, people for the ethical treatment of animals, they're getting ready to dump like hundreds of thousands of dollars into this researching of laboratory grown meat. They've actually figured out how they can grow meat in a petri dish until it's a steak, I guess.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
Some kind of meat paste.
it's called, and I think they called it schmeat or something, or at least that's what Jon Stewart called it.
I'd rather have a cloned cow.
Schmeat. Cloned cow. That was the other good thing that Obama did. He signed the, but not the gene splicing bill, but the research with stem cell. Yeah. Embryonic stem cell, that's what I was trying to think of. So if you've got any spare embryos hanging around, send them out, donate them or whatever. If not, some people can barely got as many embryos as they need, Somewhere, somebody's screaming because they have no embryos. All right. This, I thought, was downright stupid. The story comes from Cambria County, Pennsylvania, Amish country. It's a horrible thing that's happening to the Amish in Cambria County. Apparently, a county judge sentenced Andy Schwartzentruber, who was an Amish farmer, to 90 days in jail and a $1,000 fine because he refuses to bring his school's bathrooms into compliance with state sewage laws. Yeah.
They got outhouses.
They've got outhouses. You're right, Greg. They've got outhouses. That's right. Mr. Schwarzentuber cited conservative religious beliefs for his refusal to bring the stuff up to code. And why not? This is the way that these people live. The Amish do not believe in technology. Don't send them an email, they won't get it. They have horse and buggies. They don't drive cars. They don't have them. I don't think they have electricity.
They do have a dress code.
They do have a dress code. And there are no plunging V necklines, no women walking around in mini skirts with the top cut down and the diamond in her navel. None of that in Amish country. No tramp stamps in Amish country either. No face piercings, although maybe an occasional pitchfork piercing. But no. And this is what these people believe, and they are not going to let anybody tell them how to run their lives. They refuse to be goaded into getting cars or getting electricity. You know, when it gets dark, they go to bed. When it gets light, they get up. They don't buy I don't think they eat processed foods. They grow their own food, harvest their own food, live self-sufficient lives. You know, maybe we need to get an Amish guy for president. That's all I'm saying. Somebody to say, whoa, wait a minute. Yeah, this is just wrong. But yeah, judge sentenced him. County claimed that the waste was collected in buckets and dumped in fields. Well, hey, that's what you do with shit. You use it to help your plants grow. It's fertilizer, exactly. I don't know. Stupid story. Where are we? Yeah, let's go to the music, Bruce. How's that? Is that all right? Tonight on the Mom's Tattoo musical interlude, Shadwell. right. Good band. Those are weird but true stories out of the New York Post from Wednesday. I thought this one was kind of funny. This Finnish computer geek from Finland, not a finished computer geek. He's still starting, but he's a computer geek from Finland. Lost a finger in an accident. So he had a prosthetic finger made out of a portable USB drive. And it looks just like a finger, except he can peel the fingernail back and stick it into a computer and download information that he can carry around with it. Now that's a great idea. Apparently it must be his little finger because it can only hold 2 gigabytes. So you'd think your big finger wouldn't be able to hold like 16 or 20. You could probably have them different sizes, but imagine that. You cut off one finger, have it replaced with a little USB drive. You can carry your medical records, all the information for your life could be right on your finger. Just plug it into a computer. It's kind of weird, though. A survey of mothers in England about what the best present on Mother's Day would be. The majority of the mothers thought that a day without their kids is the best Mother's Day present ever. Yeah. A bouquet of flowers came in second, followed by a card and a box of chocolates. Now this was kind of cool. Stupid, but apparently it worked the first time. Because a guy that was allegedly driving under the influence of drugs got away from the cops in San Francisco by faking a heart attack. And when they took him to the hospital, he escaped. Good thinking, right? But it didn't work the second time when he faked a heart attack after he got busted robbing a bank. Apparently they said, heart attack, smart attack, we're taking you to jail. But yeah, that was kind of funny. This one. India is known for a lot of things these days, like billions of people. They're like the next America, apparently. Except they worship cows and wear those little safari hats. At least in the old movies they do. Priests in northern India married 2 frogs in a ritual to help end a pernicious drought. Yeah. More than 2,000 residents attended the wedding of Wind, who was the groom, and Thunder, who was the bride.
That must have been one.
I bet it was a great party.
So 2 monks married 2 frogs.
I don't know. I don't know what it is. If the priests actually married the frogs, in which, sounds
Is there
kind of
like
weird.
a special ceremony when you marry a frog?
Wondering if there's there's got to be a special
I
ring.
mean, there's certainly a height difference between the monk and the frog.
There is a height difference. Yeah. No, I don't know, but apparently the villagers hope that the rain's going to come now that the frogs are married. There was a great lavish reception, I guess, with food and drink. There was I don't know, caviar and little finger sandwiches.
Have any frog's legs?
No frog's legs. No frog legs, but good guess. Man, you hung up on that one wipe now, aren't you? But at least with the wipes, you can't. I don't know how a wipe handles the weird luminant stuff, though. No, we don't need to find out. Let me tell you the story about George Phillips, who's an elderly man from Meridian, Mississippi. He was getting ready to go to bed the other night, and he heard noises outside his house. So he went and opened his back door and noticed that the light was on in his work shed and people were stealing things. So he went back inside and he called the police. And he said, somebody's in my shed stealing from me. Well, a police dispatcher said, sir, is there anyone in your house? And he says, no, they're in my shed stealing from me. They said, well, we don't have anybody available right now, so you should go in your house and lock your door, and we'll send an officer as soon as one becomes available. So old George was a smart old man. He didn't just fall off the turnip truck. He'd been off the turnip truck for a while. He hung up the phone. He counted to 30. And then he called 911 again. And he said, hi, this is George Phillips. I just called you about somebody in my shed robbing me. Well, you don't have to hurry. I shot him. Within 5 minutes, he had 6 police cars, a SWAT team, a helicopter overhead, dogs, 3 paramedics, 2 fire trucks, and 6 ambulances at his house. One of the cops said, Mr. Phillips, I thought you said you shot him. He said, I thought you said nobody was available. So the next time you need to call the cops and you need them to hurry, tell them you killed somebody. And they'll be right there. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. Let me tell some other good. I know for the past, I don't know, year or so, there's been a lot of real negative press when it comes to Major League Baseball. What with nobody breaking a record in years and everybody trying to break records and taking steroids to do that, and just being basically downright horrible people that we all know baseball players are. Well, maybe not so horrible anymore.
Nothing like the wonderful role models you see in the NBA.
That's right. Right. Or any of the other sports. But listen to this. Baseball teams have done nothing over the past 5 years, 10 years, but raise their prices, build newer and bigger and better ballparks so that they can justify charging $85 a ticket to go and see a game. Well, you know, I think they realized with the season getting ready to open that maybe business isn't going to be so good this year, except for the, 57 guys from AIG that can afford to go to a baseball game. So a lot of the ball teams have decided to give deals. And here's some of the deals that you can find in the Major League Baseball. Minnesota Twins. They'll be selling their home run porch tickets in left and center fields will be priced according to the previous Friday's Dow Jones ending point. And I don't know what they've figured out doing, but it said if the Dow is in the 6,000s, tickets will be $6. So I assume if the Dow falls into the 5,000s, tickets will be $5. If the Dow falls to the 3,000s, tickets will be $3. And so on and so forth until the Dow is 0, in which case everybody's welcome at the Minnesota ball field. The Baltimore Orioles, if you feel like, a special birthday treat, you can go on the Baltimore Orioles website and get your free upper reserved seat to non-prime games during your birth month. So if you're born during the baseball season, during your birth month, you can get, I think it's a pair of tickets to go to a game sometime during your birth month. If you were born in the months between January and March, you'll be given vouchers for April games. If your birthdays are from October to December, they'll give you vouchers for games in September. It's very cool.
Wow.
You know? Yeah. The Houston Astros have a package deal. 10 games for $20. That's $2 a game. Of course, it's the Houston Astros. But, I mean, it's baseball.
They might be playing somebody good.
The Yankees, the Royals, and the Pittsburgh Pirates all are selling tickets in the $5, have tickets available in the $5 range, which is great. The Padres are cutting their draft and bottled beer prices.
Now that's something.
Now that's something, because everybody knows you just don't have enough drunk people at baseball games. So you need more drunk people.
Yeah, and at $7, $8 a beer, that gets expensive.
It does. And, you know, people only buy one beer, where if they drop the price down, you know, to $1.50 a beer,
By 10.
they drink all day, you know. But it's a cool thing. A lot of parks are starting to let people bring in their own food. Not bring in their own beer, but like bring in sandwiches and things like that, so you don't have to spend $8 for a hot dog, which is just mystery meat. The Peter lady on that, the story about them investing the money in the Petri dish meat, she said hot dogs are like lips and anus parts. Yeah, pretty much. And the meat between the toes of animals and stuff. I don't know. I don't care where it comes from as long as it tastes good. You know?
Spice it okay.
The problem we've been making is we've been adding additives to our food. You know, we've been letting people mess with it to protect us. I mean, that's the whole deal with the medical industry is people telling you that they're smart, having a fancy diploma on their wall saying that they read a whole bunch of books and they know what's good for you. But meanwhile, if you go to the doctor's office for a regular office visit, you've got the sniffles or whatever, or maybe you just feel off. You don't feel real good. You go and see your doctor. Some people do. I've stopped. I don't want the bills. And that's what it is. The doctor will sit there. For one thing, the nurse comes in, takes your blood pressure and does all that little stuff to you, and then leaves again. The doctor comes in, spends less than 15 minutes with you. Your average doctor visit, you will see your doctor no more than 15 minutes. And he's gone. Happy to charge you $1,000. Because his knowledge is just so in demand. Bullshit. Doctors rank right up there with dickheads in suits. You know, and lawyers. Anybody that gets up in the morning and puts on a suit, it's corporate. I don't know. Get up in the morning, put on a damn pair of jeans, some shit kicker boots, go out and plant a damn garden. You know? These people at AIG that, oh, they scream and yell about the workforce and, you know, America depends upon a great workforce. Well, these people haven't worked a day in their lives. These are people that sweat putting on their jacket in the morning. Big, fat, overweight, balding executives that sweat putting their jacket on at 6:30 in the morning, go and plop their ass down in their fat cat seat and have somebody else doing the work. These are the people that we're letting have our money. You know, personally, I say, if any bill collectors want to call me, forget about it. I won't talk to you. Call me when the government pays its deficit. When the government gets its bills paid, then worry about me. You know? As long as there's $2 trillion in debt out there, don't worry about my $5,000. It amounts to that last drop of pee that you shake off yourself, you know? That's what it amounts to. But call the government, you know, call Obama and say, hey, you know, you're a little behind in your payments. I know you can afford $5 billion a month to pay off your debts. You're an entire country, for God's sakes. You're charging all us money. All right, we're getting down there. I've got to say, when I called, first of all, I called Randy today to find out who was going to be on No Spin. Not that Randy ever knows, but once in a while, he does. I got his voicemail. So I figured, all right, Randy must be busy doing something. And I called Chris Coates, who is the other half of the dynamic duo. Chris is the I want to say older and more balding looking of the two. Well, maybe he's just the more white collar criminal looking of the two. Randy looks like he could just be a thug. Chris actually looks like he could be a white collar criminal. Pretty much. But I got done talking to Chris. And he told me that, you know, they didn't have any guests lined up, that their guests had backed up. And I no sooner hung up from talking to Chris, and my phone rang, and I answered it, and it was Holly, Randy's wife. Randy had left his cell phone at home, so she called me. She filled me in on the fact that they didn't. She said, I think it's just Chris and Randy. And I said, okay. And she said, I've got to tell you, you have a big fan out in Columbus, Ohio. My sister Nancy watches you every week and loves your show. So I just wanted to say hi to Nancy out in Columbus, Ohio, and thank you so much for watching. I try and do, you know, stuff to make you laugh, maybe some stuff to make you cry. If my stuff that makes you laugh makes you cry, I'm sorry. But anyway, so I said hi to Nancy now. A donkey will sink in quicksand, but a mule won't. It's a true fact. So if you ever have to cross quicksand, take a donkey. Or take a mule. Don't take a donkey. Try to look for some good ones. There are close to 1 million sheep in Iceland, and a lot of happy shepherds. An armadillo can walk underwater. He becomes like a tank on the ground.
But can it hold its breath?
Maybe it can. It doesn't say. Porcupine. You ever wonder why you see a lot of porcupines dead on the side of the road? Other than the fact that people hit them? Their love for salt attracts them to roadways and walkways where salt's been sprinkled. And, you know, I'm kind of glad that Andrea's not here, because Jon Stewart had a show last night with a news clip from Florida. And apparently, there's a huge thing going on in Florida where a bunch of snakes have gotten loose from pet stores because of the last hurricane. And now there's, I can't remember how many they said, but a lot of like huge Burmese pythons working their way across Florida, and they can get up to 18 feet long.
Taking out all
I mean, says, One way to get rid of the elderly population in Florida, to stick a bunch of man-eating snakes on them. You know, and these old people with the walkers, they won't be able to get away. They'll just be like... And them snakes, they can move like 10 or 15 miles a day, they said. So they're fairly quick. And they'll eat, apparently they'll eat almost anything that's they're carnivorous. So they eat the meat stuff. Yeah, carnivores or carnivus. Well, they'll eat old people, no problem. So you get them old tan people, the snake sees an old tan person on the beach in Florida, figures it's just fast food, barbecue or something, you know? That's what it'll be. Wow. The duck-billed platypus of Australia. And I'll have to check with Randy's son about this. But it says the duck-billed platypus can store up to 600 worms in its large cheek pouches. Yep, apparently platypuses like worms. Mongooses were brought to Hawaii to kill rats. And the
Apparently
plan
they just
failed
like to
because
catch
rats
worms. They
are
don't like to eat 'em.
nocturnal. And the mongoose hunts during the day. So it didn't work. Carnivorous animals will not eat another animal that has been hit by a lightning strike. That just sounds weird, right? Apparently, in order for carnivorous animals to enjoy their meal, they actually have to kill it first. It's a good thing I had this one about Hawaii, because Hawaii turned 50 years old this week. Not the island. The island's been there way longer than 50 years, but the state of Hawaii is 50 years old this week. Kind of cool, I guess, if you're into that. Victorian society rejected the notion that pets were capable of feelings or expressing emotion. Armadillos can be housebroken. The goose was the first domesticated animal. The goose. Probably done as a watchdog type of thing. All right, let me find another one. Some ribbon worms will eat themselves if they can't find food. Caterpillars have about 4,000 muscles. And humans, in comparison, have only about 600. So watch out. A caterpillar that's got more muscles could probably whoop your ass. You wouldn't even know it. After eating, the housefly regurgitates its food and eats it again. Giant cricket of Africa enjoys eating human hair. Grasshoppers have white blood, but then anybody that have a crush to grasshopper knows that. All right. I want to thank Mom's Tattoo, all my whole crew. Till next week. Peace.